Hi, this is a reflection on lesson 284 in A Course in Miracles that says, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. And I'm out here at our park in my hometown, and it's Lakeland Park. And I thought, man, I really want to move my body after sitting in a car a big chunk of the time for the past week. I felt like to bring balance back, I had to apply the opposite energy. So like, let's walk. So, and this is just a beautiful area with all the lakes, obviously the geese, so much geese. And I love how I never know what to expect of myself. It's like I love, like for as long as I can remember, just a lot of times up until recently, I would just place expectations on an experience. Like I'll throw myself in a new situation, but then I also expect XYZ to happen and I gotta prepare for this. Blah, blah. And now I just love when every time I set out, whatever that means, even if I'm inside doing a project, but if I set out for something, it's like it's never what I conceive of. So I just love to like, here's the idea, but let's remove all expectations of what will happen. So what I thought would happen, but again, no expectation, but I found a bag, and look, it's camouflage. I'm like, where did I get this? And then I saw, oh yeah, the pot store back when I went there to get stuff for helping me sleep, and now I don't, but I'm like, I'll take my pot bag. So apparently it was a free giveaway at some point. So I thought it's fitting, camouflage, that's where I live. We wear that. And I'll throw in some poetry books, a little notebook and a pen, a bottle of water, and set out. Well, I thought I would immediately find a bench by the lake sooner than I did. But I took a different route than I don't even know where I am right now. I never know. But I know I haven't been this particular route. Well, I didn't have as many benches as I thought. That's okay, because what happened was every 2 seconds I was stopping to take a picture of a caterpillar, a butterfly, spiders, different kinds of worms, a freaking praying mantis, and we shared some time. I even laid down on my side on this where it was and like talked to it, and it stopped, and I cried because it did this. This is what surprised me. It looked at me as if it were like considering me. Like, what the F are you? Like, it'd never seen a human before. I'd never seen one of these. And that made me cry because like, and then like, why am I crying? It was just such an upwelling of, whoa, like to be considered, to be like considered as in like, oh, I'm held captive in its presence in a way. And a bicyclist driving by, and oh, that's all right. I had to pause because this gentleman rode up on his bike to like take off his coat. It's getting warm out, and he's like, "Oh, you might be hurt." He said, "Oh, I didn't see you sitting there." I said, "That's okay." So then we talked, and he got his stuff together and went on. So anyway, this praying mantis, it was like being the first for someone's experience, and I'm projecting. He may have seen 100 humans out here, and he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm an old man praying mantis. You're not the first. You're just maybe the first with sunglasses. I don't know. So, but it like stared at me and was like, because it had been moving, and then it was like, and then I was like, I don't know. It was just hard to describe, but wonderful. And then I had that moment with some spiders and caterpillars. This butterfly seemed to be jumping along flowers along the same path I was walking, so we were like kind of in unison there for a while. And so it turned into some sort of nature walk instead of just me getting to a bench where I could read and write and meditate. And so I guess it was a walking meditation, a walking active meditation on just this, just what's happening right here, right now. Life is everywhere. I even took a photo of a dead little field mouse who'd been eaten up by the bugs, and there was a fly on it, and that's a part of life too. And that made me a little like wispy, like it's all the stages of life. That wasn't even death, it was just another stage of life. That's what it felt like, and it's all right here all the time. So it really made me want to try this winter to get out and walk more. It's partly a practice in this, all that I just described, putting myself in a situation and just like being in life as it's happening, and also knowing that with menopause, I tell myself it's hard. This is partly what I want to try to understand and transform a bit of, is how to regulate my temperatures fluctuations with my mind more, like to settle my mind aversions to my temperature fluctuations. Like I go from extreme cold to extreme hot to extreme cold like 1,000 times a day. If you know, you know. Wink wink, all you women out there, or menopausal people. I've been having hot flashes since 2013, August of 2013. That's how I remember when it started. And it's been 12 long years it first started, they were every 15 minutes. Now they're about once an hour. And I tell people that, and they're like, what? That's a lot. And I'm like, dude, you should have been here at every 15 minutes. This is great. But wouldn't it be great if they were just gone? And I thought, part of me thinks there is a mind component to it. I've talked with women about this, and they're like, oh, interesting. Because a lot of us report that it starts as like this little twinge and nausea, and if I didn't frame it as menopause, maybe that's what anxiety feels like. And I thought, well, maybe there's something in here energetically, build up all those years of pushing down anxiety and thinking, I'm not anxious, I am great, maybe it's actually in there and I never realized it. And maybe it's coming out in those hot flash spurts. And maybe that's what is so common with women who all our lives they press stuff down in order to take care of others, in order to be an overachiever, in order to work a lot, to prove our independence, whatever our story is. And then at some point the body's like, okay, lady, let's get real. You're gonna let this out before you explode. I feel like menopause, perimenopause, all of that, whatever you want to call it, whatever phase you're in, is like an uncontrollable pressure valve situation, like psh, 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 so we don't explode, because we've been in the pressure cooker, keeping ourselves there, whatever's been keeping us there up to this point in our lives, That's my theory. I can't wait till somebody scientifically tries to test that theory, because man, it feels true. It feels so true. When the hormones aren't there to allow us to keep suppressing, because without the hormones, things feel very direct. Like, oh, it's happening now, which I'm grateful for, actually. I don't want to suppress anymore. So that's my menopause theory. And back to winter and wanting to come out to places like this and walk and be out in the cold is to be like, I can do this. I don't have to keep telling myself the story like, no, I need to be inside with a blanket, because my little frail menopausal body can't handle the temperature fluctuations anymore. Whatever. That's just a story. It's not real. So I thought, let's do it. We'll see what happens. here we are at the beginning of fall time. We'll see what happens. So anyway, that's not about this lesson. Oh, it kind of is a little bit. Wow. So this lesson, it talks about how we can retrain our minds to believe whatever we want. Right? We don't have to keep believing the thoughts that hurt. And it said, it even gave a process. It was like, start by repeating the new thought over and over and over. You don't even have to believe it. Just repeat, repeat, repeat. And then you'll notice, oh, there's something oh, feels okay. Yeah, okay, feels okay. And then you might get a little glimmer of truth in it. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, let's keep going. And then you still have doubts, still have some reservations. I still have some doubts about this, but more and more the truth is setting in. But I still have very specific, maybe, doubts about it. And it's a process, and then it takes you through to the end where it's like, and then you really feel into the truth of it. And maybe it's transformed by then too. Like, you don't have to just stick to the one truth you started with, right? Here's some more people coming. I wonder if they want to sit here because it's a really pretty spot. So that's this lesson. Maybe it is related because I thought about how the whole training my mind about my temperature fluctuations, and maybe it is a story I've been telling about my own resiliency, dissociation from my body that has taken a different form now than it did before. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just riffing, like these are new thoughts, like the whole body dissociation's a new one for me because it's like, yeah, I try not to feel sensations my whole life because I think that's from early childhood trauma that just kept going. And then you get into like puberty, and I have very early memories of boys, like 12-year-old boys, objectifying my body in middle school. Like, what is that? How do they learn that? It's disgusting. They had to learn it somewhere. Oh my God. All of the movies of the 80s did not hold up well. So I partly blame that. But it was just the water we swim in here, at least in the Midwest, at least in my small rural town that wears camouflage. It's not a judgment, it was a joke. No offense. But seriously, it starts young, and then I remember those happenings, like to the point where it's like, oh, now I gotta change my dress. There's literally, no matter what I would wear, there's literally nothing we women in any phase of our life can wear where we're not objectified, right? Like, I'm not a person, I'm just an object of gross sexual desire before these kids even know, like before a 12-year-old even knows anything. They're just repeating, it's like they might start to have hormonal feelings at that age, but they're just repeating what their fathers, older brothers, creepy uncles, like the 80s movies, whatever. Not just 80s, it still happens today, but so yeah, I have to undo all that in my mind, in my psyche, right? Those things are like traumas to our psyche. I didn't even want to say micro trauma. I don't believe in scale. The nervous system treats everything kind of equally to some degree. So whatever, and it's not just women, it's men too. I don't want to paint it like that. It's definitely men too. Not just from other men, but from women. So we do it to each other. We all do it to each other, no matter of gender. And I have hope because I do see change happening with the younger generations where it's cringy, gross. Like, I love the words they're using to describe that. And they have their own issues of connection in different ways due to social media and internet and all that stuff we always talk about. Like, we blame them. But with that stuff, over-sexualized, hyper-sexualized, objectification of each other's bodies, I don't see that as much anymore. And I'm so grateful that they won't need to have that sort of pressure valve later in life to like let all those reverberations out, you know. And so I think about what this lesson was about retraining the mind. There's a lot of like old stories, you know, that hurt. Like I can keep telling that story about how my whole life I've been objectified. And then I've gone through phases of like however many waves of feminism there are, and all the good and the problematic parts of each one. I feel like I've gone through a lot of those to see what fits. And I don't know if so much of it fits. I feel like instead of feminism, I just want humanism, you know. Because like I said, there have been a lot of problematic parts to each wave. But I've tried most of them on for size, and I'm like, maybe I'm not a feminist. I'm a humanist, and I don't want anybody to be objectified. And I know I've done it to other people as a retaliation, you know. I've tried that hat on for size, did not feel good. And it's, I feel like all of these things, then I feel like it's all related for me somehow with this lesson of like retraining the brain. What do I want to believe? What stories about myself do I want to believe? How do I repeat, like even if I don't believe it at first, just repeat. It's like saying affirmations and people are like, oh, that's cheesy. Well, freaking works. So whatever you want to believe about yourself, about the world, about humanity, and I think mostly about ourselves, we got to start at home. So I think about that. What stories do I want to tell about myself? I'm certainly resilient, because my stories too, for me, have to be based in truth. So, certainly resilient, keep going, and I feel like I've grown strength along the way. I've learned along the way, so resiliency feels kind of good if I want to tell that story about myself. And perpetual, constant reinvention, like back to my reflection yesterday about never holding on too tight to any one thing. I feel like that's a form of instantaneous reinvention. And reinvention kind of has an element of like, well, you were a solid this at one point and now you're a solid that. So to me, this idea of reinvention is one of like fluid reinvention, in the sense, just because I like the word reinvention right now, I guess. Fluid reinvention of like nothing sticks, trying different things on for size, for fun, and being like as little blips in identity for fun, and then being like, toss that hat in that lake. That was fun for a while, and don't think a thing about one way or another about it, other than maybe, hey, what did I learn from that? What glasses did I get to see out of? You know what I mean? Like, what perspective shift did I try to have? Like, to try to, like, unstick myself at every point, to keep letting go, never holding on, never getting stuck in a way of seeing things, even. Because everything's true. Everything's true. So I kind of want to experience all the truths, all there is that life has to offer. I want to see through. I don't know why. There's just this, the other side of wanting to experience everything there is to experience, wanting to tap into all the truths, is that has a connotation of like the many, of duality, of fragmentation, of mirroring, of fractals. Like, it has that kind of connotation, right? The flip side is, by doing that, I feel like I'm also practicing none of that. Like, coming into like a meditative space of just this. When I my current practice, non-practice, I guess, is, let's switch perspective here. My arm is getting, there we go. Is reminding myself, no words. Like, I'll look out at a landscape like that, And if my brain starts to think or label things like, oh, geese, oh, water, oh, trees, I just look and say in my head, no words. Almost like there's a energetic whoosh, I wash them away with like a swoop. And it is an energetic thing because it's so hard for me to like explain the feeling because I'm trying not to use words. And it's like, wow, I'm pretending that I don't have language to describe just this. And I'll even say just this. And even those two words start to become too much. And it's so wild, trippy, a little psychedelic. Wow. I was a neat little hummingbird or whatever it was. And here comes more people. But to say no words is like, oh my God, I'm experiencing the rawness of it all. Without words, labels, categories, descriptions. Oh. Okay, I had to pause it there. There was a couple that came with their little kid and played around for a while, so I didn't want to disturb their playing with my journaling. So anyway, I'll wrap this up. I also brought this poetry book. This is Forrest Gander, and he's winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so that's something. It's called Mojave Ghost, and this is one of the books I picked up on our trip. Whenever we'd visit a little bookstore, I try to get these little books of poetry from people I don't know yet. And this is one of them. So I just started reading it. It's very good. And what I mean by good, what's that even mean with poetry? Hello. It's whatever, I resonate with it. Meaning, when I pick a book of poetry, I flip through the pages real quick, and if it just has to vibe with like, oh, I want some of that. And he had some of that for me. So that's how I judge good, is like, oh, it's going to take me somewhere I've never been before. So at least, who knows, that's just how I select it. Whether it does that or not is a different story. So about this lesson, it's all about retraining the mind. That's definitely the phase I'm in, if you want to call it a phase. It's like seeing everything fresh, never holding on, or try like this whole like, as soon as I feel myself holding on, let go. Like there's nowhere to land. I wanted to talk about this yesterday and I forgot, and it seems relevant. Like this idea of this, how to characterize where I am right now. Oh, I just laugh at myself because people would listen to me, like my family would be like, can you just live life without like reflecting on anything? No, damn it. Well, that's part of my practice too. What I was talking about earlier is just being in the moment without words is like literally no reflection. You're just experiencing the rawness of everything. That's definitely the other practice. So what I want to talk about yesterday was like what got me to this point, or some gate, if you want to call it that I had to pass through to get to more peace, because I feel very peaceful lately, and I say that meaning I just more often feel in a state of peace. That's it. So what seemed to be a big one for me was like, and it's been a whole lifelong journey of I had to exhaust myself of turning toward other things. So it's a very energetic feeling of like, I go and turn down this path to seek something. I go as far as I can, maybe find some great stuff along the way, and then still it's not satisfying for the long term. It's not fulfilling. You think it's going to give you something and it doesn't deliver. You know, it's all of however you want to describe that. And then I back up to myself, go down another path. Ah, same thing. It looked different. It was a different kind of fun, different kind of hard, tough, whatever. Still the same thing. I go down another path, same thing. So that's what I mean by like, that energy in me had to exhaust itself. There's still some in there. And it too will have to exhaust itself. This might be the form it's taking, you know, like trying to retrain the mind. And that's going to play itself out too. Who knows? But as far as like in the real world, the material world, like the job, the friends, the going out, the staying home, the crafts, the books, the pets, I don't know, all the things in this reality that I think, like, go down this path, try this out. And then ultimately I'm like, it's not just that. Like, I think that's the answer. You know, and in my head, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just thinking like, ooh, next shiny thing. And it's just continual running toward. I had that energy in me had to exhaust itself. And I've heard other people talk about whatever that energy is in them. It's just might look different. It might be like addiction, different addictions, different, you know, playing themselves out, like taking it to the extreme. I think about is that what it means to hit rock bottom, is when that energy has to exhaust itself, you know, to the like an ultimate expression of that energy. I don't know. I very grateful I have not gone down the addiction path, because I feel like I could have. And I'm very grateful that whatever it is that stops me just before that has stopped me. But I feel like I'm no different than anybody else with that kind of energy in me that feels like the grasping, the trying to fill a hole in me with things that are outside of me. Whatever that is, I have it. Maybe we all just have it in different degrees. I don't know. I've just been very grateful. I just wanted to say that with the addiction thing. So much compassion for that, because it is outside of one's control. You know, shouldn't be judged, shouldn't be shamed. You know, we've all got an element of that energy in us. It just manifests in different ways. I truly feel that, you know. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I feel. So maybe that just helps me have more compassion for it. So that's what I mean by like, whatever that energy in me that has had to exhaust itself. It's again like that ball bouncing analogy, like, and now it's just like more frequent. Like I might turn down a path for a second and then let go, versus before it'd be like, I'm gonna do this bad habit for 2 years, you know, and let go finally. So that's just how, whatever that searching, that grasping, it's just attachment. It has taken many forms in my life. Relationships. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this type. Maybe whatever. Maybe this hobby. And yeah, and I'm still so grateful for all those experiences, because they're a part of me. And so they're like they're now informing. They're like part of my own personal wisdom that informs everything I do from here on out. So it's not like I want to negate any of that. But this whole like training the mind, I guess this whole like, I have been a different version of myself so many times that why shouldn't I be able to train my mind to do whatever I want? I feel like I've been doing that, but without calling it that, my whole life, by trying out different things. We're never one thing our whole lives. We're never the same from one moment to the next, if you really look closely. So that lesson is profound for me because I feel there's a lot of truth in it. We are not static. I thought I saw another passerby here. We're not static, nor would you want to be? No. So to think like, wow, I can literally think whatever I want and make it true for me. Your truth is yours, mine is mine. Oh, this is another thing this lesson made me think about today was how it's amazing that two humans, even best friends, even closest partners who know each other so well, can communicate at all because we're all like in our own journeys, on our own paths, at different points along each way. Like, what lens are we each looking out of today? What lens are we looking out in this moment? Like, how you would think our wires are always getting crossed. It'd be the rare occasion that they actually connected in the same way, at the same moment. So I think that's what makes that feeling of real connection like feel so special to us, is because it was like, oh my God, out of the impossibility of it all, we connected so deeply and profoundly, like while we were in the same soup, in the same space, head space, heart space, using language that really landed within each other, even if it's just body language or eye contact, whatever. It's amazing. We connect at all. And I think that's what makes human connection so special, is when two people can do that. And then you think about a group and people who can facilitate a group to do that. Oh my God. I don't know why that came to me. It's just because you felt that, right? Even at a concert, like you all love the same artist. And sometimes the vibe is just like, whoa, we're all the same. So this, I don't know why this lesson made me think of that. This idea that I can train my mind to think the best thoughts is like, I have no idea how that's related. No idea. Maybe it's not. But it made me think about that. Like, wow, how can we even connect at all? And so I think about there are moments too where I truly feel like I can connect with anybody given the opportunity, like given the time together. That can happen. And sometimes maybe it's even more possible with strangers, because I feel like you don't have the history, the baggage. Like you can just, like, it's almost like you cut out all the BS, you cut out all the long cuts, you do have the shortcut to like, what's our lowest common denominator, right? And a lot of times, like even with the gentleman on the bike, we didn't know each other, and we had this little connection of like sharing this beauty for a moment, and just being in each other's space, allowing that without feeling like we had to leave, or we just shared a space for a moment, and it felt like I could have done that all day with that person, I don't know, without knowing anything else about him. And then if it's important, right? And so maybe it is easier with strangers. And maybe I was listening to a podcast today. This woman was talking about like relationships she's had, and like she was always talking about how they were the problem until she woke up 30 years after all these failed relationships, where she was like thinking they were the problem. And she's like, oh, it was me. So it's like, sometimes it's hardest with our closest loved ones, I think, to connect, because we expect so much of them. We expect them to fill a hole within us. Back to that analogy. And it's like, wait a minute, no. I just want to love them. I just love that they're alive, and I love sharing space with them. And that's how I feel about my partner. I just love sharing space with him. And so some days our energies can be so different. Like today, it was so funny because I'm feeling so mellow today. Just like, oh, yay, Sunday. Oh, so mellow. I don't really have any to-dos other than we've just gradually gotten through our mountain of road trip laundry or whatever. So, and he had his cup of coffee, and he's like, like he gets ultra hyper when he has a day off. He's like slug man during the week because he's working, and then on the weekend, and I love this. Yes, I love when he has like energy. Today it was off the charts. It was so, oh my God, it was weird. This is so weird. It just doesn't happen too often to this degree, but our energies were so disparate, like different ends of the spectrum. And I'm sitting there like flossing my teeth, and he comes in to like, what was he doing? Oh, put in his contacts. So we're sharing space in the bathroom, like side by side. And oh my God, he wasn't even talking. He wasn't doing anything but putting in his contacts, and I wasn't doing anything but flossing. We didn't have to say any words, and I could feel the intensity of his energy being like up here, and mine was just like, yeah, man. And both of us happy, like so happy for Sunday and what we had going on. Yet the difference in this is the only thing I can attribute this physical sensation to, because I'm getting more and more sensitive to like that, is I got nauseous, and I had to back away and sit down on the toilet, and he still doesn't know that, like, I was just like, oh God, that's a lot. And it was wild, like, and I thought, oh, maybe this is a hot flash. And immediately I knew, no, this is different. This is not a hot flash. I sat down, and then I was fine, just having a little distance from that. And then, because in hindsight, it had happened a little bit earlier in the morning too. And so then it happened even more because we were even closer together. And I was like, what is happening? So I just think how if I didn't know our cycles, and that's a normal thing we have, is just our energy levels are different. It doesn't mean anything about us and how much we love each other and sharing space with each other. It's just we can't be, nor do I want to be, in the same place all the time. And then when we do have our moments of connection, of like really vibing with our conversation and whatever, it's like so special. I love it so much. And so I wouldn't want that all the time. It would lose its specialness, I think. And so this makes it special, knowing like, holy shit, his and my energies were so different that it caused this like, whoa, feeling. Like his was so overwhelming to me that I had to move away and sit down and still love him. And so I don't know why this lesson made me think so much about human connection. And maybe it's because that made me think about how we're never the same in any moment. And so what really matters is like the intention that we put towards something, right? And not expecting other people to always conform to like the way I am. I'm always this way. No, you're not. And nor are they. And so this lesson of like, our minds are so malleable, they can be retrained. Our behaviors can then follow from that, you know, to like retrain our minds is really tricky. Like, I always, like, you can't think yourself into a new way of acting. You can only act yourself into a new way of being, is like a phrase that stuck with me at some point. And now I'm like, so the act of like acting out affirmations or that storytelling in a new way, like retelling your story to yourself, is retraining your mind. Because the mind itself is like, this is who I am. And so it takes action and intention to really like change that. And it's possible. We're all so malleable. And I think it's funny that we as humanity think we're so like set in stone, and we should be. But no, these identities and personalities are just like fun to try on and like act out, you know, with each other. And then make each other laugh, make each other surprised, make each other cry, you know. It's just so fun being a human. And I think that praying mantis was like, God, your body's so weird looking. And I'm like, man, you're the praying mantis. Look who's talking. Bye.